Hello everybody, welcome to Voices of Friedreich's Ataxia. Our goal is to raise awareness and funds to cure Friedreich's Ataxia, FA. Today we will talk about Acting Together to Cure FA by Kendall Harvey. One of my favorite Friedreich's Ataxia, FA, quotes comes from Ron Bartek, co-founder and president of the Friedreich's Ataxia Research Alliance, FARA. He said, "Acting alone, there is very little any of us can accomplish. Acting together, there is very little we will not accomplish." Getting diagnosed with an extremely rare disease that I had never heard of was extremely isolating and discouraging. When I began looking for information, everything seemed so bleak and scary. I found list after list of symptoms I was destined to endure before FA took my life. Then, when I was desperate for a glimmer of hope, I found FARA. I stumbled upon this Ron Bartek quote and it truly inspired me. I felt hopeful knowing there was an entire community out there striving for a cure just as urgently as I was. I was eager to join the efforts and see what could be accomplished. 7 years later, that quote still gives me goosebumps, and that community still motivates me to keep fighting. Before my diagnosis in 2013, I never imagined I would raise money for rare disease research. Yet, I formed Team Kendall, and my village supported the FA community. We strive to be part of the momentum that leads to a cure for FA. Team Kendall acted with me, and we have accomplished so much. In just 7 years, we have raised awareness and over $209,000 for FA research. If I had remained isolated in my fear and despair, I would undoubtedly be a very different person with a very different outlook on FA. I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't write columns for Friedreich's Ataxia News, I wouldn't participate in Ride Ataxia every year, I wouldn't go to physical therapy, and I wouldn't use social media to raise awareness for FA. I wouldn't try to live a normal life despite my disability. The FA community removed my shame of needing help and made me realize it's okay not to be okay all the time. They showed me there is hope, balancing out the despair. Our community is compassionate, dedicated, determined, and smart. We are a small population, but we are passionate about our common goal of finding a cure for FA. On days when FA becomes too much to bear and I am too tired to fight for my future, there is always someone else fighting for the rest of us. While I am all too aware of the relentlessly progressive realities of my disease, I still hope I will see a cure during my lifetime because of the FA community. And until that day comes, I will do what the rest of my community does, strive to live my best life and do what I can to cure FA. It truly takes a village to accomplish a herculean task like curing a rare disease. If the FA community keeps working together, we can accomplish our goal of finding a cure. We can keep assisting the brilliant scientific minds working to cure FA by filling the patient registry, participating in clinical trials and research studies, and raising money to fuel all of those efforts. And, in the meantime, we can keep our heads held high while drawing the necessary strength from one another to keep fighting. Kendall Harvey is also an FA patient and this information was taken from Team Kendall with their permission. The link is provided in description. Hello everybody, welcome to Voices of Friedreich's Ataxia. Our goal is to raise awareness and funds to cure Friedreich's Ataxia, FA. Today we will talk about Becoming a Fearless Mom Despite Disability by Kendall Harvey. I had a happy, normal childhood in Katy, Texas. I played outside with the kids in my neighborhood, tried every sport or extracurricular activity, and daydreamed about being an adult. We were very involved in the local church, and if the doors were open, we were there. It was a busy and wonderful life. I met the love of my life, Kyle, my sophomore year of high school. He stole my heart, and I knew by my senior year that I was going to marry him. He was kind, smart, supportive, competitive, passionate, good down to his very core, and oh so handsome. Our relationship even survived the long-distance phase when we went to separate colleges. We got married in 2009. Life was blissful, newlywed paradise. We traveled and went on fun dates. We played co-ed flag football, sand volleyball, and co-ed softball. Together, we made big plans. Little did I know I had been harboring a sleeping giant my whole life. When I was 25, I began noticing some unsettling changes in my body. I was losing my balance and feeling fatigued so easily. Something was off, and I decided to seek answers. After a comparatively short diagnosis journey of ruling out inner ear problems, vitamin deficiencies, blood disorders, tumors, multiple sclerosis and other disorders, my doctor ran a genetic panel. August 19, 2013, my world was rocked. I was handed a progressive, debilitating and life-shortening diagnosis of Friedreich's ataxia, FA. I wasn't offered any hope because there currently aren't any treatments or a cure for FA. Without getting too deep into the science behind it, FA is a genetic disease where my cells don't regenerate and function like they should. This buildup of damaged cells causes poor communication in my central nervous system. This results in a wide array of symptoms, including decreased coordination and dexterity, poor balance, slurred speech, and fatigue. I was suddenly destined to lead a sickly life dependent on a walker and then a wheelchair. This would progress into complete physical disability and eventual heart failure. I felt like this had to be a nightmare. This had to be a cruel joke or a scene out of someone else's life. In that little exam room in Austin, Texas, time froze and so did I. Kyle put his arm around my shoulders and said, "It's okay, we can fight this." I snapped back, "No, we can't. This isn't cancer, there's no treatment or cure. It's just going to take away all of my abilities until it kills me. I can't fight that." We did a little preliminary research the first week after diagnosis and it all seemed so grim. The only thoughts I had those first few days were, I'm going to live out my days in a wheelchair, and then FA will kill me. I guess Kyle and I aren't going to have babies now, because I can't leave him a widower with a house full of diseased kids like me. Why me? My friends and family allowed me to mourn as we absorbed our new reality while they fiercely gathered as much information as possible. They asked questions and held my hands as we found out the answers. My village held me together while my mind tore me apart and my heart shattered. I knew that my life was no longer on the path I planned. I gave up on my future. I mourned for the children I wouldn't be able to give to my wonderful husband, the adventures I wouldn't experience, and most heartbreakingly, the loved ones I would leave behind once this horrible disease was done with me. I was so scared. Instead of laying my burden at God's feet and letting Him guide me, I completely shut God out. I didn't know what to say to Him. I felt so betrayed. I had such grand plans for my life that I thought were ordained by Him based on the path that He had led me down thus far. Then those plans were ripped away from me by a disease I had been given before I was even born. That wasn't fair. That wasn't my God. He wouldn't do that to me. I wanted to stay mad at God because, at the time, that's all that made sense to me. As we digested the diagnosis, we accepted that life would never be the same. It would always be complicated by FA. But that certainly didn't mean that life was over. Not yet, and not by a long shot. We met with a leading expert in the field of FA with our 16-page document of questions, but they all boiled down to, what is FA going to do to me, and should we still have children? His answer was quite simple: if you have always wanted kids, have kids, don't let FA stop you. For the first time since receiving my diagnosis, I earnestly prayed. Okay God, you gave me FA. What now? Obviously, you have a path for my life that I had no part of planning. Give me a clear sign that we are or aren't meant to have kids. The next week, we got Kyle's test results back that he was not a carrier of the FA gene, meaning that without a doubt, our kids would not have FA. We took that as our sign to go for it and got pregnant that month. For me, it took a big thing like pregnancy to come back to God. When I heard my son's heartbeat during that first ultrasound, my faith was restored. The realization that the same God who gave me this broken body was capable of using that very same body to grow a perfect human life saved me. We welcomed our perfectly healthy, strong-willed blessing son, Brooks, in 2014. God completed our family with our perfectly healthy, passionate genius daughter, Collins, in 2017. Kendall and her family. When people admire my strength or encourage me with the old Christian sentiment of God won't give you more than you can handle, I think, well, yes, He absolutely did give me more than I could handle. I absolutely can't handle FA on my own. I absolutely can't handle motherhood on my own. I absolutely can't handle marriage on my own. But that is God's perfect design. We aren't meant to do any of it on our own, because we aren't on our own. God is always with us, rooting for us and equipping us. They say it takes a village to raise a baby, and that is so true. If you strive to keep God at the center of your village, there truly isn't anything you can't handle. I lived in darkness with fear as my companion following my diagnosis. That choice just made everything worse. I am still fearful about my future, but I make the daily choice to trust God to guide me through that fear and help me act fearless. Life works better in the light. Life works better when you relinquish your plans for His. There are days when mothering a kindergartner and a toddler is just too much for my broken earthly body. When I think about what my disease has in store for my future, or when my symptoms progress me further into disability, I slide back into darkness. Our faithful and loving God always sustains me and leads me back to the light. He is teaching me grit and grace so that I can share a message of hope despite disability. As Julie Richard says, I didn't choose this, but God will use this. Kendall Harvey is also an FA patient, and this information was taken from Team Kendall with their permission. The link is provided in description. Hello everybody, welcome to Voices of Friedreich's Ataxia. Our goal is to raise awareness and funds to cure Friedreich's Ataxia, FA. Today we will talk about If These Wheels Could Talk, by Kendall Harvey. We've all heard the phrase, if these walls could talk. We guess about the secret conversations that have taken place in a room and wonder what it would be like if the walls could tell us the story. What celebrations, collaborations, conspiracies, or moments of genius have those walls witnessed? What have our own walls witnessed? I often wonder the same thing about the wheels of my walker. My walker has been a constant part of my life since January 2019. It has been there during so many moments. If my wheels could talk, what story would they tell? Would their story be one of triumph and adventure? A heartbreaking tale of struggle? A heartwarming story about an inspiring girl who is overcoming the odds? A bitter tale of physical defeat? A simple story of a wife and mom just doing her best to get through each day? I think my wheels would tell a complex story that blends all of these themes. Life with Friedreich's ataxia isn't simple or easy. It can't be painted with broad strokes and whitewashed into one simple storyline. Every day presents new challenges, and every progressing symptom derails the narrative and changes the tone of the story. I live scenes from all types of chapters, every day. When I wake up, for example, I take my investigational treatment from a clinical trial and then grab my walker to get out of bed and start my day. Some days I move more slowly because my restless legs are sore and uncooperative as I try to get going. Other days, I don't have time to think about my body because my children are dragging me out of bed to help them start their day. My walker is there for all of these moments during my day, including the good, the bad, and everything in between. My wheels carry me through it all. They see me at my best and at my worst. My walker acts as both a laundry hamper and a sous chef as I do monotonous domestic tasks around the house. It helps me sneak out of my daughter's room after I tuck her into bed at night. It braces me and prevents me from falling when I become unsteady. It helps me trek through the yard to push my children on the treehouse swings. My walker rides in my car to assist me during physical therapy, visits with friends, and while running errands. It is parked by my bed, ready and waiting, while I sleep. My walker has been to Italy, Disneyland, the beach, and the mountains. It has accompanied me to weddings, preschool drop-offs, church, meetings, game nights, and holidays. It even rolled off a boat marina and into a lake. It has wheeled through airports and hospitals to help me participate in a clinical trial. Those wheels have been on many adventures. If my wheels could talk, I think they would accurately tell the tale of a young woman doing her best in the face of a progressive, degenerative disease. They would tell of my gratitude for their service and constant aid. They would tell of my resentment of my dependency on them. And they would tell of the beautiful life I've been able to continue leading. Because at the end of my story, my wheels say, to be continued. Kendall Harvey is also an FA patient and this information was taken from Team Kendall with their permission. The link is provided in description. Hello everybody, welcome to Voices of Friedreich's Ataxia. Our goal is to raise awareness and funds to cure Friedreich's Ataxia, FA. Today we will talk about Feeling the 7-Year Itch with FA by Kendall Harvey. I was diagnosed with Friedreich's Ataxia, FA, on August 19, 2013. Before that day, I had never even heard of FA, let alone expected to think about this progressive, degenerative, life-shortening disease in any capacity. So much has happened since that day in August 2013, and my 7th diagnosis anniversary last week made me very aware of how time has passed. When I first received my diagnosis, I entered the information gathering phase of navigating my new reality. I was obsessed with learning everything I could about FA. I scoured every corner of the internet for every mention of FA. It was therapeutic. I felt like having a scientific understanding of what had happened/would happen to my body would somehow equip me with the strength to fight FA and lead as normal a life as possible. Unfortunately, this was before hashtags, personal blogs, and video diaries were a common, and internet searchable, practice, so it was hard to find real, relatable people living with the disease and sharing their everyday experiences with it. I really only knew the science behind FA, my personal journey so far, and what would probably happen to my body. Armed with this limited worldview, I took on the momentous task of curing FA. I was convinced that informing enough people the right way, then raising money for research through Right Ataxia would be the perfect addition to the work already being done. We would tip the scales to cure this thing and move on. I was so determined to keep riding this starry-eyed beginner's enthusiasm until we quickly cured FA. A few years in, I realized that my efforts were important and valuable, but probably wouldn't lead to an overnight cure, as I had naively expected. Even though FA entered my life in a scary blink of an eye, it probably wouldn't leave that way. With this realization, I took steps toward accepting my disease as a lifelong reality and moving forward. My husband and I replanned our future, then got started living it. FA became an increasingly huge part of my life that demanded an unbelievable amount of my time, energy, and capacity. Yet I was determined to still seize the life I wanted. I entered the invincible stubbornness phase of my diagnosis journey. While I addressed the reality of my FA symptoms, did my part to raise awareness and funds, went to physical therapy, and did everything an FA patient should do, I still strived to live my daily life as if I didn't have a degenerative monster of a disease. I refused to give FA the control it ruthlessly battled for. I've been going along my merry FA way for 7 years now, and my disease is undeniable. My symptoms demand that I readjust my approach to just about every single aspect of daily living. I can't ignore it anymore. It's exhausting. On my 7th diagnosis anniversary, I realized I was experiencing the 7-year itch phenomenon with my disease. This phrase usually means that 7 years into a relationship, happiness fades and the couple begins to wonder if they would be happier with someone else. But I'm using it as a general lack of enthusiasm to carry on in a long-term commitment. As in, I am just over it. I am sick of FA being my partner. I am not intrigued by the science of it anymore. I am jaded by the lack of treatments or a cure despite my tireless efforts. I don't want to be a patient anymore. I don't want to be the disabled mom at my kids' school. I want to move on. I want to be normal. Unfortunately, that ability isn't up to me. I can't control my future, but I can control how I face my present. So, I will keep leading the life I want, as allowed by my ever-changing disability. I will maintain the hope that we will see a cure in my lifetime and do what I can to help make that happen. I will keep moving forward, even with FA. Kendall Harvey is also an FA patient, and this information was taken from Team Kendall with their permission. The link is provided in description. Hello everybody, welcome to Voices of Friedreich's Ataxia. Our goal is to raise awareness and funds to cure Friedreich's Ataxia, FA. Today we will talk about Is the grass greener without Friedreich's ataxia? By Kendall Harvey. I keep thinking about the saying the grass is always greener on the other side. This is usually thrown around when you wish for something. We get it set in our minds that if we could just cross the figurative fence, grass would be greener and life would be better. If only it was September already, I wish I could find Mr. Right, I wish my hair was curly, I wish my house was bigger, etc. People often reference this conundrum of accepting your current circumstances with the other classic line, you always want what you don't have. Most of us are in search of what would make life better. This leads to a dangerous tendency to compare with others and resent what we do have. I get wrapped up wishing I didn't have Friedreich's ataxia, FA. I think that without FA, my life would be so much easier, better, more adventurous, less complicated, happier, and so on. I'm sure the grass is legitimately greener on the healthy, non-FA side of the fence, at least physically. Running around in lush, green grass certainly sounds more appealing than stumbling around with a walker. Yet I must remind myself that every time I envy someone, that person probably craves their own greener grass. Generally speaking, we are unsatisfied people craving the next something that would make life perfect. When I start with this train of thought, I think about how different my life would be without FA. Besides the obvious big changes in being able to function safely and independently, not battling chronic fatigue, and not dreading further complications like cardiomyopathy, it's easy to get wrapped up in thoughts of how much happier I would be. I wouldn't have to fight my body for every move I make. I wouldn't wrestle with mobility envy. I would get excited when I think about my children's futures instead of worrying about the logistics of how their disabled mom will be there for them. I wouldn't have to deal with the relentless heartbreak of a progressively degenerative disease that I have no real way of fighting. We can all agree that life on the non-FA side of the fence certainly would be greener. Yet, while it might look easier, I don't know if I would appreciate that lot if I hadn't had to endure this side. I wouldn't have become the person I am without spending my life trudging through this treacherous FA grass. While FA has changed my body, it also has changed who I am on the inside. I have learned so much about myself since my 2013 diagnosis. I am stronger than I ever thought I would be in ways I never expected. I appreciate the good things in my life on a different level than before. I have made many wonderful friends in the FA community that I wouldn't otherwise know. I have been given opportunities to share my story and inspire strength and hope. And most importantly, my faith has been tested and redefined. For now, I will keep fighting against my tendency to long for an easy, carefree life, because that life doesn't exist for anyone. I have big plans for the day I do get to cross over to that greener, non-FA grass, but until then, I will keep working to blossom where I'm planted and enjoy what I can with my current lot. After all, there are so many beautiful flowers here. Kendall Harvey is also an FA patient, and this information was taken from Team Kendall with their permission. The link is provided in description. Hello everybody, welcome to Voices of Friedreich's Ataxia. Our goal is to raise awareness and funds to cure Friedreich's Ataxia, FA. Today we will talk about Maintaining Abilities with Friedreich's Ataxia by Kendall Harvey. With Friedreich's Ataxia, FA, I am used to the reality that my abilities are progressively deteriorating. I am losing coordination, dexterity, cellular energy, and strength every single day. I am all too aware of the ticking clock that has started the countdown on my ability to do just about everything. I am also painfully aware of the disheartening reality that there's not a treatment or cure to help me slow, stop, or reverse my progression yet. Despite these odds and my threatening disability, I am doing what I can to maintain my abilities. I made this choice for several reasons. The first reason I am trying my hardest to fight my relentless disease is for my mental health. If I keep pushing my body physically, I can rest easier knowing that I am doing everything in my power to lessen FA's progression in my body. I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I did my best to fight FA that day, whatever that may have entailed. Plus, getting my blood flowing allows me to benefit from endorphins, even if my workout might not look like everyone else's. Second, I don't want to give FA that much power to dictate how I live my life. While I want to be safe and smart, I don't want to give up my ability to complete any task, big or small, just because FA makes it hard. I want to try to learn how to adapt whatever I can to safely maintain all independence. I am not ready to give up on anything, except for wearing high heels, in the name of my disability, yet at least not without a fight. Third, I am just plain stubborn. I don't like being told that I can't do something, even if it's my own body setting these undesirable limitations. I want to live boldly. I want to experience life on my terms, not the terms dictated by FA. Last, I want to be my best possible self for the day the treatment or cure does come, so that I will have less to overcome or relearn on my path to a normal, healthy, FA-free life. I want to maintain whatever muscle strength I can so that I can run again one day. I want to keep my hand dexterity in its best form so that I can learn calligraphy one day. I want to keep talking no matter how hard or embarrassing it is so that I can flawlessly tell a story of perseverance one day. It can be disheartening to see my walking getting worse despite all of the squats I do, physical therapy sessions I push through, and mental energy I spend willing my lower half to do what I want it to do. But then I remind myself that my body would likely be even worse off if I didn't make that effort. I had to adjust my mindset that I am not doing all of this to get better, I am doing this to maintain whatever abilities I do have despite FA. As the wise Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. said, if you can't fly, run, if you can't run, walk, if you can't walk, crawl, but by all means keep moving. I choose to keep moving forward however I can for as long as I can. Kendall Harvey is also an FA patient, and this information was taken from Team Kendall with their permission. The link is provided in description.